All right, hey everybody. I figure it's time I give another update about stock and what we're looking at and where we are, right? So this in front of me is just a little marking of swap days, right? And then a little marking of T plus, zoom in please, T plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe even 6 might be useful. Seems in this general area, T plus 6 is useful. Boop. 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 And these are all in 2022, right? T plus 6, we seem to have the hit on gamma squeezing, right? Now there is, in this one, a lot of activity at T plus 1, 2, 3, 4. Do we have activity on T plus 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's not consistent. It really isn't consistent. And there's probably a swap here. Yeah, there is. Let's look at him. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is already on the way down. That's interesting. Anyways, all of that aside, right? You'll notice how I've been placing in a timeline, and I've been checking out different things. If we start from this one that we experienced on the 22nd that I called out ahead of time, where all I did was I found the gap between the swap here to the swap here. And then I applied that gap from here to here. And it didn't bother me that it was 5 months instead of 6 months. But it bothers me now that it's 5 months instead of 6 months. So start looking out. These things line up at, let's look at 1 year. October 2025, October 2024, October 10th, and October 23rd. Let's look at October 23rd. August, September, October 23rd. Yeah, okay. Let's mark it. Mark it. That's 1 year, right? Now we have October. Let's look at 6 months, right? That is April, January, February, March, April. 6 months, April 23rd. January, February, March, April 23rd. And that's right here. So, all of this, right? On this specific swap, I'm seeing indicators for, I do not care that I've disconnected, please reconnect me. I'm seeing indicators miss on 6 months ago. It hits 5, if anything, it's 5 months ago. Hard miss. Let's go ahead and put an X on that. Oh, fuck it, thumbs down. Put a nuh-uh on that. Miss on this. Definitely a strong indication at 1 year. Definitely a strong indication at 18 months. Please, TradingView, keep it together. And a strong indication at, what is this? 3 years? Let's look at 2 years as well. We have October of 2025, October 23rd. So I want October 23rd of 2023. October 23rd of 2023. Strong indication. Right? Okay. So, what's all this, right? 2 year. We got 18 months. We've got 1 year. Did not touch that. And we've got 3 years. Let's go ahead and do 2.5 years as well. if this is April 23rd of 24, then I want April 23rd of 23. April 23rd. A soft indication, but an indication nonetheless. Nonetheless. I'm not sure I would put trust in this, but I will say that it could exist, right? Okay. This is as far back as I'm willing to go. Okay? Oh my god, please. I see. Refresh. Happy? Better? Not upset at me? Jeez. This service. Silly, silly. Go ahead and save. Okay. So, I'm seeing indications at 2 years. I'm seeing indications at 3 years. I'm seeing indications at 18 months even. And I'm seeing indications at 1 year. Okay? So if I mark a swap as something that I have witnessed, then maybe I can expect something in not 6 months, not necessarily, but in 1 year, in 18 months, in 2 years. I'm going to say no on that, and I'm going to say in 3 years, okay? And these are the possibilities that I see in front of me. So I could take this chart, I could send it out in front of me, and I could test whether or not we see what we see, okay? And I expect what I'm going to end up doing is applying this mask everywhere, selectively, and finding what I think our expirations on our swaps are, okay? That's what I expect I'm going to be doing for the next little while. And then on top of that, I have a new page here. The idea is we manually enter a swap. Once we have tracked down what our supposed timeline for a swap expiry is, we go over here and we do manual entry of the swap day, okay? Let's say in 2023, let's say we have, actually, let's just do this one right here. I do not care. Trading view. I truly do not care as much as you think I care. Let's say we have this one right here, right? This is we're calling it a red swap on October 22nd, or October 21st, 2022. 2022, October 21st. 8/21. Ah, 22, my bad. And then we would put red. And then we would uncheck none. Okay, so the idea being that I would love if this column inherits the swap at a 6 month. This column inherits the swap at 12, 18, 36. And then this column would inherit whether or not we are within 2 calendar weeks of a red, blue, purple, etc. 1 week, 3 days, 1 day of the indicator. Okay? And then I can also add in a 1, 2, 3, 4 day gamma offset for once I have flagged that a swap is completed. Okay? Now, why is all of this worthwhile? You know? Because this model is dead wrong on swap days. It is dead wrong on swap days. And so I believe the next step into making this a useful tool again is to make a model that all it does is predict swap days for me. I log input swap days manually. I give them a color. And I expect the color is going to have a weight associated with it for how strong of a downwards pressure that swap had the previous iteration, which will turn into a downwards force and a chart that I can chart out here. And so that's what I want. I want a consistent way of predicting swap dates and including them into my modeling and then back testing. And so that's the project here. That's what I'm on. And I have one more thing that I want to do, right? Yes. So I have a list of macros that indicate that a swap has ended, okay? And I'm just going to show them all here in front of you. The first one is that utilization goes down. We pull up Vortex, we look at GameStop, we look at utilization. Yeah, okay, I do not want your emails. I would love to see GameStop utilization. Here we go. Utilization down, okay? Utilization is up today, but down overall, right? The peak day for the swap typically has high utilization, higher utilization than its peers for the next week or so. Okay, and so I'm looking for a lower utilization than previously, and this is a soft indicator. Then I also want cost to borrow, not at a weak high. So I want utilization away from its, not on its weak high. The weak high is the indicator of swap. I'm looking for an indicator of recovery here. Actually, let's say we're indicating a swap. I want the highest utilization for the past week or two, or since the last swap date, maybe. Anyways, next we want cost to borrow. Look at GameStop cost to borrow. It peaks on 11/12. Look at the swap date. What day does it flag? 11/10. Cost to borrow on 11/10 does have a moderate spike, but it is not the biggest spike. Okay, cost to borrow is actually up today. That's really interesting. That's unique. But I want a local maxima on cost to borrow. I want a local maxima on utilization. What else do I want? I want short interest to also be at, I would love daily short interest, please. Let's do short volume instead. Short volume is easier to access each day. I believe short volume should be in the top 50th percentile, give or take. I want short volume high, or short interest to go down. Short interest going down indicates an into swap, into a swap session. Now, short volume reported is still high, but it reached, I actually still believe 11/10 is our swap day. This is interesting. We haven't seen a drop in short volume. Now, the swapinator may be down, but short volume has not dropped yet. Okay. Next, I want to see XRT volume have a maximum on swap day. So I want to see XRT on Yahoo Finance, I believe. This will do. Come on. I believe in you. Here we go. Okay, 4.3 volume. Oh, that's today. My bad. Yeah. XRT truly churning on 11/5 and somewhat churning every day after. What day is 11/5? Not what I want. Okay. 11/5. Oh, this is the day that I was like, we're gonna rally, and then we didn't rally. XRT volume hit something massive here, but I would love to see XRT volume elevated. Now, how can I tell if a XRT volume is elevated? Is 4.57 elevated? It's not even elevated. But I still think an elevated XRT volume within the week is a sign of a swap date. Okay. I also think XRT volume going down is the sign of the swaps being over. But let's keep going. We're going to skip the swapinator and bottom finder as some indicators here. Of course, the swapinator and bottom finder are things that I believe indicate swaps. It's how I've been functioning so far. Okay. I'd also like to see GME volume. Let's just Yahoo Finance it again. Okay. 1110, 4.7 million. So we do have volume, but we don't really have anything notable right now. We do have a notable volume on the 1022 swap. We have notable volume on 11.7. We don't have notable volume on 11.10. Now, the thing that makes this one difficult is that suppression peaked based off of ETF pressure, insofar as I can tell. So if I pull up ETF pressure, suppressing ETF pressure seems to have taken a lot of force from these metrics. There was a high amount of ETF pressure on the 5th. There was a high amount of ETF pressure on the 10th. I believe. Yes. And so suppressing that should take up XRT volume. Let's look at XRT volume on the 5th and the 10th. 5th, 10th. The 10th is not even elevated that much. That's really interesting, but the 5th is very elevated. Okay. Now, the next thing I want. I want this indicator here, and I want to see it move down. Am I seeing this properly? No, I am not. I want 0 minus move. Perfect. This is what I want to see in swaps. I'd love to see this start recovering. And I'm already seeing a few different things here that make me happy. But more than anything, we're still very much suppressed here. Like, we're not at peak suppression, but we're still very much suppressed here. Typically speaking, insofar as I've seen, the gamma squeeze occurs about 1, 2, 3, 4-ish days after peak pressure. Let's look over here. Peak pressure, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you'll see that it actually occurred 3 days, but hell, if we break 25, fuck it, we ball anyways. Let's look over here. 1, 2, 3, and then we drop there. Okay. Let's look at the price minimum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, price minimum. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd love to play that trade if it's a trade. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yes, I would love to make the call out that 4 days after the minimum price. 1, 2, 3. Damn, that's real close. Okay, I guess I'm making a different call out than I thought. Is that tomorrow? I really don't like that I'm saying tomorrow. That's annoying. Oh well. Yeah. There's a possibility of upwards pressure tomorrow. It would line up with a gamma squeeze. Hell, it'd line up with Greg's Twitter recently, where he posted something silly and detached, of course. 1 second. Here we are. Gamma generates a whole presentation. PowerPoint secretly corrupts your file at 2 a.m. And the funny haha person said, Gamma, word, corruption, word. And that's about how it feels. I expect that we are going to see Gamma probably tomorrow, honestly. And that would line up with the recap +1 theory I had before, but I'm not necessarily putting stock into things happening the way I want right now. But as it stands, I'm under the impression that if my model is broken, it's time to build a new one. With building a new one, it's time to start finding the exact days of swaps, and time to start automating finding where swaps occur, when swaps occur, and how swaps occur. And then when I've got it all logged and I've got it all generating later swaps from earlier swaps, and like me being able to backtest that and walk forward in the timeline, then I should more than anything be capable of fully making a model which takes each echo here and applies a constant to it, and then makes that into probably let's say to start with an offset of max pain, because that's how we function in the FTD model. We like to hover towards max pain, and then when we're, how can I say this? Let me show it. We hover towards either the cash value of the company or towards max pain. I actually think with swaps we're gonna say, hey, during swaps, go to cash value of the company. When you're not in swaps, feel free to rally to some multiple of the cash value of the company. Let's say 1.6x the cash value. Um, and then I have one more thing that I want to do to the cash value because the cash value wasn't feeling correct lately. I'm going to do a change here, and this change is probably going to change a lot of things here. So all this is going to do is our market cap, here we are. Our total cash is no longer going to include digital assets. And we're going to see what that does to our model. Just going to drag that on up. No Bitcoin. No soup for you. GameStop could not behave, so no soup for him. Okay, 20.27. Now let's see what happens to the full models when we have a cash floor that excludes. Not a massive change, to be honest. Let's look at the ETF model. With the floor of 20.27, what occurs? Wow, that is very fucking accurate, actually. To the point where I don't actually put stock in it because it's too accurate, which is interesting. Yeah. Anyways, I think we're low. I think we're low. I think we're due for upwards momentum. I think there's no ETF pressure to create upwards momentum on the 13th. If we see upwards pressure as fuck on the 13th, it'll be mostly random. But I do think on the 14th we see ETF pressure. The 17th we see ETF pressure. 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st. And then I would question whether we see anything on the 24th because the 24th is, oh no, it's a Monday. The 21st I'd question if we actually see anything because that would blow up OPEX. Not OPEX. That would, yeah, options expiration. That would blow up OPEX. I'm not necessarily sure they're going to blow up OPEX. But I could definitely see this ETF pressure going through on all the way through the 21st, honestly. It would not surprise me because if you look at last time, we saw ETF pressure all the way through our upwards momentum here. Let's go ahead and MS paint it. Let's get silly. Let me get silly. Snip. Snip, snip. Let's start doodles. Let me make sure I'm capturing my entire screen. We're doing display capture. So if I open this, hey. So shapes time, right? We go over, up, and then we dilute, right? So I expect we're going to go over, we're going to up, and then we're going to dilute. Let's redraw that. Do I think this is accurate? I think we're going to have a more extreme up. And then we're going to dilute. Okay. This I could see happening. Could I see 24 on the 21st? Yeah, of course I can. But that's an options expiration day, so they'd probably hit it on the 24th instead. Yeah, I could see us breaking past the green model here. I actually expect that we see pressure earlier than this. So let me redo. What can I think I expect? Yeah, I mean, no matter which way I cut it, I do so believe that we follow the more bearish signs here. I think we're going to undershoot the green model pretty consistently for this rally because we've just pressured so fucking much that all my ETF pressure's mostly spent. I mean, it's half spent, but getting half the ETF pressure of a rally, it's still a rally. But it's not what I thought it was, a month back. This isn't even a month ago. This is October 23rd to November 13th. 3 weeks back. Yeah, in the past week, I've just not seen the ETF pressure pan out. which is really interesting. Now, we could see it tomorrow. Recap plus one really does exist. Hell, GameStop likes to teleport upwards. That's just how GameStop works. Um, but I believe this was a swap day. And I believe none of my models anticipated a swap. I believe none of my models account for a swap. I believe all of my models assume that you are not going to place a swap date on top of FTD delivery. That was wrong. That assumption that they're not going to place a swap date on top of ETF delivery is wrong. And so the follow up is, hey, I don't care about this anymore. The follow up is, hey, what if it's all about the swaps then? What if the swaps happen first? And so we find the timeline of the swaps, and then we have the timeline of all of our peaks, or all of our troughs. And with the timelines of our troughs, we can then consult the FTDs to find the timelines of our peaks. That way, it's an order of operations of first you consult whether or not you're being heavily suppressed by swaps by measuring swap dates. I'm expecting that at this point, if the swaps completely overwhelm the FTDs, that we consult swaps first. And these are very, very, I mean, they're on set timelines. It shows that something's happening on set timelines here. You take the troughs and they repeat. They repeat on a year, they repeat on 18 months, they repeat on 2 years, they repeat on 3 years. Is that not interesting? Of course, it's interesting. I don't know how much they repeat. I'm gonna have to sit down and slam my head against this wall for a few hours and figure out how often they repeat. I'm gonna have to sit down and I'm gonna have to do data entry for a bit and just chart out where swaps occur and why they like where swaps occur, and if they occur there, what happens next? What happens in the few days after? What happens after? You know? And so I'm going to have to consult price action, average price action in the few days after swaps. And I'm going to have to construct what gamma does 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and 4 days after swaps on average. Find those numbers. Find the percentages, not just the numbers. How much percent do we see average gain the day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4 after swaps? Apply those to the model. What happens when we are on a swap plus 6 months? What happens after 12? What happens after 1836? And what happens when we're within 2 weeks, 1 week, and 3 days of one of these flagging? Let's say only one flags. But hey, let's say we see orange and red on the same day. I would love my model to add up the suppression from different sources of swaps, predict them ahead of time, and then say, hey, we had a swap within the last month. We had a swap within the last 2 weeks. We will have a swap within 3 days. And it adds that all up and it comes to an amount of suppression as a value. And then it will apply that probably to the cash and say, this is how close to the cash we might come. If we're on swap day, if we're on swap day, swap days are going to be manual entry for me. They're going to be me calling bottoms, consulting the swapinator manually. I don't want to pretend that any of these models are not me trying to figure things out for myself. This is about me. But I expect I can manually enter swaps. I can find when we're on, I'm going to call them echo period echoes of swaps. And I'm going to be able to find from not just echoes of swaps, I'm going to be able to find future swaps. I'm going to be able to then find what average effect that has on the price based off of how far off we are by taking the exact swap days that have been manually entered and then modeling what happens to price on those days, what percentage off the cash floor we average to on those swap days, and then applying that, right? And I expect I can turn this into an optimization problem within a month. I expect I can put together a full, hey, this is how swaps turn our stock price into something better or worse. This is how we get closer to the cash floor. Yeah. Is there anything else? Nothing big. Like, I've been in a constant outpouring of love and care from others the entire process of this. Um, I expect that it's a matter of time before we rally. I also expect that this is a loaded shotgun that's aimed at someone's face. I expect that UBS calling bankruptcy on two different hedge funds that they own as subsidiaries is because of the price of rolling these swaps. I expect they wouldn't have announced a bankruptcy unless they had already rolled a swap. And I expect that Gamma's coming up due soon. And we're gonna fucking do something. I don't actually think that they're gonna take all this time here between now and the next, what I expect is gonna be a swap, and not rally at all. But I am being ex- I am being insatiably careful about what I say, and I'm being insatiably careful about what I predict because my likelihood of being correct on my predictions was an order of magnitude higher before I started publishing. And the things that I publish tend to specifically not occur. And that's okay. I'm allowed to be paranoid. Honestly, this community is a loony bin and I love it. But you're allowed to visit the asylum. You're allowed to go to visitation hours of the asylum. You're allowed to play cards with the people who are in the asylum. Spending too long in this is going to result in me picking up proclivities of paranoia or proclivities of grandeur, and that's fine. Like, I don't feel like I need to be right about this stuff. I'm just pushing for what I think is gonna work and what I think is gonna result in the truth. And the truth to me is that swaps beat FTDs. And so it's time for me to rotate from tracking FTDs and predicting FTDs to predicting swaps, and then applying FTDs to that and applying ETF pressure to that, and then finding rallies after we find swaps. And so this whole model is probably going to get recreated. None of my work is going to stay the same at this point because this is useless to me. I don't want I don't want a model that can diverge 50%. And I mean, all models break. That's the point of models. They're supposed to break. Then breaking teaches you things. I learned a lot. I'm proud of that. Okay, let's go into lessons, right? Yeah, let's go into learning things. Okay, so I keep notes, I keep lessons, I keep things that I learn. It's very, very useful to be honest with yourself about what you believe going into a trade, what you learned coming out of it, and what you feel about it at any given point. About about a week into owning this position, I was under the impression that I pulled the trigger way too soon and that there was no risk involved in waiting. There is massive risk involved in picking up a position early. I picked up a position at 60 cents a pop for my calls, which were valued on swap day at 40 or 45, depending on what time of day it was on swap day. I could have picked up my position for 25% less. That's useful to me. That's massive to me. It doesn't matter that IV drops to the first percentile. It matters that you actually get in on swap day. And so, how do we find swap day? I actually think, bless Ultimator's fucking heart, he's damn good at this. His tools call out exactly swap day. But I also think that we dropped below cash floor times two. And this is a great indicator of swap day, is dropping below resistance levels, breaking through resistance levels. Um, you'll also find that after the second swap in the line, we broke the resistance level, but we broke the resistance level without even peaking the swapinator, without even like noting a swap. Um, so I had this mark, or I could find, if I have a swap model, I could find when the next swap is. And if we are breaking resistance levels and we are on swap day, by the way, this is off by a day. Let me go all the way over here and show what I have done is I have started all the way over here on 21st of October 2022, and you'll notice that this is on 23rd of October 2025. So let's say pick it up on the 21st of October. I expect on this day, even if I'm a day before swap day, I'm probably getting a much better price on this day than on any other day, than on my pickup day of around the 14th. Okay? The next lesson. So the first one is it costs me nothing to wait. Just nothing. The second lesson is that after swap dates, there are rallies and pullbacks. Me offhandedly saying that, hey, if we rally, if I see a rally of 100% on this position, I'm trimming it, I'm getting rid of it, and then me being too paranoid about this entire YouTube stuff, or me wanting to be right about being paranoid about this YouTube stuff, resulting in me not trimming it at all. I could have had this entire position for free effectively. Like, unironically, I could have kept the winners and I could have had this position for free. I had that opportunity in my lap. Now, my moral system told me that it was pump and dumping retail, but there is a certain level of communication involved where I can say I'm picking up a position. I can tell you if I see the market maker running out ahead of me with 15 million fucking contracts, I'm selling into that, right? Um, and that's fine. So I actually think that trimming and refilling positions is an outstanding concept, and I need to start implementing. Um, but on top of that, I think that playing with uh, out of the money short-term options is something that I'm not going to do again for a bit here. I'm going in the money long expiration for a while now. Fucking hell, need to kill Steam as a task. I haven't even talked to whoever that is in fucking years, and yet I'm getting notifications about it. Anyways, yeah, I think that's the big stuff. Right now, my positions are this account does not have options capability, and I'm not going to lie about that. So I'm using GMEU. I hate the fact that GMEU exists, by the way. It's massively abused in order to create. This number is completely inaccurate. I'm not trying to fucking jork it in general chat here. Okay, that's better. I don't like the fact that GMEU exists. They are used to rehypothecate and create shares of GameStop massively, the same way XRT is used. XRT should not be fucking legal with how it's used. But that's fine, that's neither here nor there. GameStop would not be what it is without these tools being abused by market makers. If this tool didn't exist, there'd be 5 more. So whatever. This one's actually useful to me occasionally. If I plan on taking up a short-term position in GameStop, or I plan on leveraging a short-term position in GameStop, GMEU, fine. And I plan on doing it without options. I actually believe options are a better deal than this, but I'm going to fucking find out one way or another at this point. At the moment, I own long-dated calls, deep in the money calls. These dates aren't exactly accurate, actually. These strikes aren't exactly accurate. Why? Because fuck them for getting in front of me on the last trade. Like, you know, cool. And this isn't even that much money. Like, I know for a lot of people, me saying, hey, I've put down what, 80, like 90 grand on long dated deep in the money calls or other such tools that are slightly leveraged on GameStop. That's not enough to warrant much here. And I'm going to keep us that way in a this isn't enough to warrant much category for a little while. I full well expect that we're loaded up here and that something big's going to happen. I've seen the MOVE index. I've seen the swaps. I've seen the delay we have between now and a future swap. I've seen Gamma waiting for us, just waiting. I don't know when. I don't know how. It's gonna happen. And honestly, I see the ETF pressure waiting for us. Now, are we rallying to 24 or are we rallying to 30? I don't know. But it's all here, you know? Um, I completely miscalled swaps because I was focused on FTDs. Uh, and I have learned massively about how swaps function, and I'm going to start trying to model them out and predict them because that's what's needed now, it seems. All right. If I can do anything to support you, let me know. Otherwise, take care, everyone, okay?